Electrical and Plumbing, 467-1111. Bryant, whatever it takes.
Tired of asking what's for dinner? Nourished for Life has got you covered. At Nourished, they're a local meal prep company that delivers fresh, chef-crafted, healthy meals straight to your door. Made from wholesome ingredients and ready when you are. No shopping, no chopping. Just heat, eat, and enjoy every night of the week. Fuel your busy days with balanced meals that are designed to keep you satisfied and energized. Visit nourishedforlife.co to purchase meals and taste the convenience of home-cooked comfort without the hassle. It's game on at Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Nebraska's premier power sports dealership. Get geared up for savings like you've never seen before during Elway Days. Their biggest sale of the year runs October 14th through the 18th when every red tagged machine is priced at invoice plus $300. That's it. No freight, no setup, no extra fees. Don't miss out on these epic savings. Elway Power Sports of Lincoln has you covered all under one roof with a large selection of side-by-sides, ATVs, motorcycles, and personal watercraft at their 27th and I-80 location.
Imagine hitting rewind on your life 10, even 20 years. With testosterone therapy from Limitless Male, you can turn back the aging clock and get your edge, energy, and confidence back. If you've lost your drive, sleep deprived, muscle loss, belly fat, irritable, you're not the guy you once were. Get your T levels checked at Limitless Male. More and more men are realizing hormone replacement can turn back the clock. Schedule your free consult at limitlessmale.com.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People City Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
You've got used to one segment of Good Takes in the morning, but now there's a full show of Good Takes at night. Welcome into Raff's Good Take on Sports on 93.7 The Ticket.
All right, welcome back in. Ticket Weeknights, Harrison Arms on the ones and twos. This is Raff's Good Take on Sports. We got Chris Raff joining us via stream as always. I'm in the capital city in Lincoln, Nebraska. He is down there in Bama territory. Husker basketball just wrapped up as well. We will likely be joined with Austin Orman later in this first segment or in the second segment. You might be listening to hear the presser as well. So could be a little bit. Nonetheless, Chris Raff, how's it going on Monday?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Nice day here in Alabama. But
what's the temps at?
What's that?
What's the temps at?
Oh, like 62, I believe.
Oh, okay. So you're still pretty comfortable.
Yeah, I'm good. But I'll tell you what. There's one thing that's bugging me tonight, just to start off the show. YouTube and Disney need to have a very strong discussion, meeting, or something, because this is the first time in I don't know how many years, maybe 1978, that I have not watched Monday Night Football or not even seen a little bit of Monday Night Football. It's kind of weird, but I'm refusing to break down and adding Hulu or the Disney package because I believe that they will come to their senses and get a contract worked out. But it was very weird this weekend not watching college game day, all the ABC games, all the ESPN games. It kind of reminded me of the old days a little bit where you've got about 2 or 3 games and that's about it.
It's there's a lot of people pretty upset. I'll go to my own fantasy football group chat here. Well, really just sports group chat. I won't give his name out, but this is from one of my buddies. He says, I got home from a long day of work and I can't even watch the games on YouTube TV because these billionaires fighting over a couple of $1 million. What the blank are we doing? And I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of what's going on here is it's got two people. It's like, well, my shareholders, and it happens to all big companies, right? You get so big to where you're not worrying about your customers, you're worrying about your shareholders. Because the obvious thing to do for the customers is to get this figured out, because you still have on your X bio, it's officially football season, even though you can't watch some of the football season on the app that you're paying $80 a month for. So it's a bad look. But unfortunately, it's, well, we got to have more money. The arrow's got to be green for our shareholders, not we got to get this game on TV because that's what our customers deserve and that's what they signed up for.
Yeah,
That's
I
just
read,
the
I read
reality.
a little bit more into it too. It's more than just the money. Apparently, Disney had one of their big execs left Disney to go work for YouTube. So now Disney's upset with YouTube for poaching one of their high execs. Or I mean, it's so petty. It's like, come on now, if this is going to happen. But then again, I mean, I'm missing General Hospital too. I can't even watch General Hospital. I mean, come on now, people. I mean,
Even worse.
yeah, no Monday Night Football, no General Hospital. I mean, come on now. They got to get this together, because I refuse to add Hulu or pay the money, because it's like I already got like every other streaming service. I saw that JJ Watt even said that he's refusing to add another streaming service also. So me and JJ stand united.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do it either. Like I'll cancel my YouTube TV subscription if this is gonna be the deal. Like, why the hell am I gonna pay this much money for it if I'm not getting the content I want?
But I guess
problem.
I can't cancel YouTube because that's linked into the NFL network or the NFL package.
Yeah, but there's ways to watch football. I'll just say that much. Without having to give into the greed. I mean, some of these, going through the streaming era, when you're making it this hard to watch football, you're asking for trouble. Yeah, and they've put their foot down on some of these illegal streaming sites. But there's a reason a lot of people go to those all the time, because these games you got to pay for all these subscriptions, and if you want to watch these ones, you got to have this, and you want to watch these ones, you have to have that subscription. And then sometimes you buy the subscriptions, and then you go to the game, and then my buddy's case, he gets home because there's a petty feud between some very, very rich individuals who have maybe too much time on their hands. I don't know, for this beef to be as big as it is, if that's really the reason. You get home from work and you thought you would have football because that was the deal you signed, and you don't have football. So
the only positive about tonight is the Cowboys playing. So I really wasn't too, they're getting
a good game.
They're getting the shit at the moment.
Yeah, 24-10.
Oh, they got a field goal. And also too, could you imagine if the game on Saturday night would have been on ESPN or ABC, the uprising in the state of Nebraska? It would have been crazy. All the people that have YouTube TV and I guess that's one positive right there, because that would have been, there would have been upheaval in the Midwest if people were unable to watch the Nebraska game. Because I mean, like, I love my parents to death, but I don't know if I'd been able to talk them through going, okay, now you got to buy the Hulu package and the Disney package and the ESPN package with the Disney. I mean, yeah, they would have been like, yeah, we good. We'll listen to it on the radio. Kyle Crooks, we're going to listen to Kyle.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Crooks does a fantastic job, but again, you shouldn't have to. Like, it's such a pain to watch football. Like, sometimes you get to this point to where you'll lose track of which sites or which apps are even streaming it, because that's like a yearly deal where every offseason that someone else puts their foot, into the door and says, we're doing this, and they fail, some succeed. The prices fluctuate a lot compared to what they used to do with the TV packages. It's one thing to have the TV package knowing what it's going to cost you on a yearly basis to have these channels back in the day. It's another thing to have a monthly charge that seems to fluctuate quite a bit depending on how those CEOs either create their own shows or spend a bunch of money to get bigger packages, which ticks up the price, which is fine. But again, it just varies so much. Like, even Netflix kind of got to a point in movies where so much of Netflix is, in my opinion, I know we don't have any sponsorships with Netflix, so I can say it, just full of a lot of really bad Netflix made movies. And it's like, why am I paying more to watch movies that, yeah, you guys made them, but they're not good? A lot of them feel very rushed, but I'm paying more for that.
Yeah.
And the whole streaming era, it's got its pros and it's got its cons, and the cons are really showing in YouTube TV right now.
Well, even I think it was last year when Nebraska played on Peacock, and the just that. I mean, I look at it like Peacock should have paid me to get their service just to listen to Jack Collinsworth, but I did break down, and I got Peacock so we could watch Nebraska basketball, and it's like. And of course, that's been out there the whole time. I never did go back and cancel it, so I guess I'll be ready to go this year for some more Jack Collinsworth. But I think that's how they get you on that first thing, and then they don't let they never let you, or you just kind of forget about it, and then you're like, okay, I guess I have it. But I'm not breaking down. I am not getting Hulu. I'm not going to do it unless
I still got some more emails I can make for some free trials. That's kind of the attitude I make. I'm like, no, I'm not going to buy this subscription to watch the one game that you guys have that I want to watch.
Yep.
So I'll use my free trial, and then I'll put a reminder on my phone to cancel that the next day because you are not getting any. And that's how they get people, right? Like that's the whole ploy is you get games, you give them the 3-month trial. Unfortunately, a very large people, we're not the best with our money. A lot of us aren't. They'll forget to cancel it, and then you're locked in.
So how'd you feel about the Nebraska versus USC game Saturday night? What were your thoughts after the game? Were you strong and opinionated like Jake Sorensen, or did you?
Poor guy. I just saw another tweet, and just big basketball game, and people are coming at him like, "Be careful, don't be too." And shout out to Jake, standing on business the way he is. He's not changing his mind, and that is what I love about Jake Sorensen. He deserves to be, show his emotions on his sleeve because maybe that's just who he is. He's pretty consistent with it. But no, I was in the more calmer spot. I thought we had our opportunities once again. There's no doubt about it. We had our opportunity, but I would be lying if I say there wasn't improvements in this team from year 1 and year 2. And as long as that arrow's going up, even if it's by 1 degree, 2 degrees, as long as it's not going down and there's progression, I don't want to be in this era of the revolving door. It's been like that pretty much my entire life growing up, and the results have sucked. They've been really bad with the revolving door tactic. So if I see progression, I'm going to be more patient. And even though it's a bummer, it was definitely an opportunity that we lost. There will be more. And if we keep the head coach in place, if we, keep, I don't want to say we can definitely have our criticisms, and there was things to criticize in that game. But I like our chances of winning these close games a lot more with some continuity under Matt Rule than I do of reaching into the hat of finding a new head coach.
Yeah, no, I was saying too, like for me, it was a different feeling this game than it was usually after big games because, I mean, look at it, the big games that we played over the years, take away maybe Ohio State last year, but that one, they bounced back after being, totally embarrassed. So they always kind of bounce back that way. But I felt that like usually when the eyes of the country go on Nebraska and the name of the school gets into the heads and Nebraska forgets to show up on game day. And I had a different, I was upset Nebraska lost the game, but I felt like Nebraska was, they believed they could win. They were in that game. And that mindset is kind of what I've been like just preaching for over the last, 15 years. It's like, you've got to get back to feeling that you belong in these games. Not like if we beat them, it'll be amazing, and they didn't feel that. They came into that game, I think expecting to win, which I know that a lot of the prior teams are going to say that they expected to win, but expecting and believing, I think those are two different things. And I just really think that they really expected and believed combined that they could win that game. I think if Dillon doesn't go down, I think Nebraska wins that game. But like I said, that happens. And it was one of those things as the years went on, you kind of wondered when he might be injured just with the hits he's taken. It's sad that it was on one of the games where he only got sacked, twice, or was he once or twice? I can't remember if
I think it was just once.
Yeah, just once. And then TJ took, I think, one. But yeah, I look at it. I think Nebraska that they got some things still that they have to work on, clean some things up. But I think like you said, I think they're improving. maybe not at the pace of what some fans want, but they are making strides. And I just found it just a much different feeling. It wasn't that after the game got over on Saturday night, it just wasn't like, what in the world is going on? It wasn't that feeling. And I've had plenty of those feelings, as the years went by. And this was more of like, okay, they were in that game. They believed they could win that game. With the unfortunate circumstances with, Dylan getting hurt, having to put the freshman in, and, he held himself well. I think he was, like Coach Rule talked about in his press conference today. There were some plays that were called, checked out of, and stuff like that. But I thought he did well for his first time there. But now he's got the pressure cooker of the entire state now, because going to UCLA this weekend, it's going to be, it's his show now. So it'll be interesting to watch, because I'm curious to see what they do with the offense. If will they adjust it a little bit and become more of a quarterback run type offense, or if they'll stick with, the plays that the packages with Raiola and how they'll do that. I would assume that they're going to try and form, plays that are going to, where he can use his running ability, because he is quick. He's definitely a guy that can get to the edge. So it'll be interesting to see how that running game, how it changes, and will it be advantageous for, Emmett, because man, he's playing phenomenal right now.
Yeah, that's the bright side, is you got some things to lean on if you are TJ Lateef. Or there's still some questions, don't get me wrong, but there's also some areas where you feel like Nebraska does have an identity and some strengths. And if you can find those and lean on those enough, you like our odds. But on the positive side, we'll get back to Husker football, Raff. Let's talk about some wins. We do got Austin Orman.
Yes.
Austin Orman joining us on the Allo VIP line, where they understand the importance of exceptional service with a local heart. And Austin Orman is down there at the Vault watching Nebraska get their first regular season win. They beat West Georgia. The West Georgia Wolves at that. If I can find the score here, I just had it up. 86-53. Austin Orman, give me the experience of the game, broad picture, and then we'll dive into the details.
Well, first of all, VIP might be going a step too far, but I appreciate our good friends at Allo anyways. A very disjointed first half for Nebraska, very reminiscent of what we saw from the Huskers against Midland. Some of that's to be expected. First half of the first game, you don't always expect it to go super smoothly, and it sure didn't for Nebraska. If you look back at the first half, West Georgia led the majority of the time. Nebraska got the game's first points, and then West Georgia took the lead about 2.5 minutes into the game. Nebraska didn't get back into the lead until after the U4 timeout in the first half. So really disjointed, really sloppy from Nebraska. Not from lack of effort necessarily, but Nebraska did maybe play a little bit timid in the first half. Nebraska probably tried to do a little bit too much at some times, looked almost a little robotic, and we can get into that in a little bit. Then the lid came off in the second half. Jay Foreman says you don't have much time at halftime to make adjustments. It's, the orange slices and a little pep talk, and then you're back out there. But Nebraska did come out, set the tone a little bit more defensively. Shots started falling. Nebraska did a better job of creating open looks in transition and knocking them down. It was a 7-0 spurt to start the second half before a timeout from West Georgia on the heels of a 6-0 spurt at the end of the first half. It put Nebraska up by a dozen. And then by that time, the next media timeout rolled around. Nebraska was back up by about 20 points or so. And West Georgia honestly kind of folded, kind of felt like they were playing out the spring, went some more kind of one-on-one street ball kind of stuff. A good first half challenge from the Wolves, but ultimately a 33-point margin sounds about pretty reflective.
And some individual players. Raff, I know you're high on this guy. Very own native, Prager, 22 points. What'd you see out of his game, Austin Orman? Because I've, again, here at the studio working, but I'm seeing on Twitter, his name's blowing up quite a bit.
Yeah, Braden Prager Island is more populated tonight than it was going into the night, but the stock prices and the get-in price is certainly soaring as well. Braden Prager was really good. He ends up the game's leading scorer, 22 points on 8 of 11. He actually hit the first three-pointer of the night for Nebraska when he came in off the bench, added one more, made 3, went 4-5 from the free throw line, added 5 rebounds and 2 assists in his 22 minutes of play. But a couple different things I think really set the tone. Number one, it was his hustle, his energy. Fred Hoiberg gave him credit for being physical around screens and through screens a little bit on the defensive end, helping Nebraska, again, kind of like Matt Rule would say, not necessarily cower, but not punch back. Braden Frager came in, punched back. He was all over the court, sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way. There's some really funny comments about him in the post game. And then probably the highlight of the night was Braden Frager's one-handed, left-handed alley-oop in transition from Jamarcus Lawrence. The stuff that I'd heard about from Braden Frager, never really seen it in action. That was a really cool moment, mid to late second half to kind of put the exclamation point on things after a driving and one dunk. He kind of got bopped on the head a little bit, finished the dunk through a little bit of contact. So a really good performance in his first official game action, really carried over from him knocking down 6 threes against Midland in the final exhibition. I still need to see a little bit more. I think the offense can slow down a little bit when he gets out there. He looks like a freshman sometimes in terms of his ability to read the game, read the flow, make the right next pass. But there's no denying that he's an incredible athlete, kind of jump out of the gym sort of guy. He's absolutely a competitor. And I'm not sure the 3-point shot holds up to the tune of 40% throughout the course of the year like he was tonight, but he's a good enough shooter and plays a position of need for Nebraska on the wings. And at the very least, he looks the part of a relatively consistent contributor, even in his redshirt freshman year.
Yeah, even if he doesn't have that, like you said, that crazy stat line every night, if he has a few more of those games where he's putting up those numbers, even on a bad shooting night, I mean, people are going to have to go out there, respect him in the fear that he does start feeling it because he's just shown that he can have those numbers. Raff, let me bring you into it. You were high on Frager before the year started. You called him out to me. We did our Nebraska basketball preview, and you called this guy out, and you said he might be the guy. What were you seeing? Because now everyone's going to hop on the wagon, Raff, but I think you might have been on the first seat.
I might have some inside eyes at practices that include me into this young man from Lincoln. So I kind of was wondering what might happen with him. I was going to ask you, Austin, was there anything that might have surprised you tonight that you weren't expecting, or did things go as planned for you?
I guess I wasn't ever too shocked. I will say Braden Frager being the game's leading scorer wasn't on my bingo card, but I guess in early season games like this, anything can happen. Wasn't shocked to see Nebraska get off to a little bit of a sluggish start. That was an issue for Nebraska at times last year as well. The shooting, right, extremely cold in the first half. The numbers for Nebraska from distance in the first half, just 3 of 14. Nebraska didn't even get to the free throw line until there were 5 minutes left in the first half. So I was a little surprised to see, even with the 2 big lineup that Nebraska started with, and plenty of Braden Frager minutes, that Nebraska didn't shoot free throws for essentially the first 15 minutes of the game. But something I tweeted out was, it's kind of the conversation about this team. It'll be hot. It'll be cold. It'll be hot. It'll be cold. At the end of the game, you end up liking where it is. The numbers balance out to. Nebraska ends up shooting 10 of 32 from long range on the day. 7 of 18 in the second half is 39%. That was 7 of 16, about 47% before Leo Curtis missed a 3. And Kendall Blue, the only Husker to play and not score, missed an open 3 from the corner. So you factor out the 2 kind of garbage time attempts. Nebraska shot 47%, 10 of 31. Would be, just under 33%. And, for a season opening game where they were ice cold in the first half, not necessarily surprising, but it shows you what Nebraska is capable of, both in a positive and a negative way.
And then I'll ask you this. I think the biggest thing that fans can circle as a possible concern is that interior presence, whether it's on the offensive side or really just cleaning up boards and that rebounding battle. This feels like a Fred Hoiberg offense where it is going to be a little bit live and die by that 3-point ball. What are you seeing on the inside presence right now? And is that a major weakness, or is it something that Fred Hoiberg in years prior can kind of work around?
Yes and no. I'll start with the negative. I asked Fred Hoiberg about this actually the last question of his press conference because I wanted to hear him say it. I didn't want to be the one to come out and say it and say, oh no, that's ridiculous. It sounds better coming from the head man. Mm-hmm. When he points out that Rienk Mast did struggle with an athletic 5-man. You look at what Kime was able to do, number 22, the starting center, 7 points, 7 boards for him on the day. I'm trying to get his official numbers on blocks, credited with 3 blocks as well, a couple of them volleyball spikes. And so that's been I don't want to say issue with Rink Mass, but something that we know that he has to work through, and Nebraska has to find ways to work through, is athletic big men, right? We think about Rink Mass, the advantages that he's able to create. You think about him on the perimeter, right, against more traditional big men when they're a little bit heavier footed than he is. Well, Kime was able to get up in Rink Mass grill. Rink Mass is a good dribbler for a big man, not necessarily the tightest handle. Plus, he's working back to full timing and finding ways to, distribute the ball on offense. I don't say he looked spooked. He didn't look scared necessarily, but he did look a little tentative, like, oh, crap, this guy's up in my grill. What am I going to do about it? He's aggressive. I can't necessarily take him off the dribble. And I think Rink Mass' a little bit of hesitation, we'll call it, I guess, in the half court, kind of hindered Nebraska's offense, right? You think back to matchups against like Coleman Hawkins last year. You think about some Rutgers big men in the past, even, Minnesota to a lesser degree, maybe with a guy like Dawson Garcia. Those athletic guys that can hang with him on the perimeter are not really his kryptonite, but something he has to work through, which is where Nebraska's offense not being built on post-ups is, a place that I think Rink Mass could really go in these matchups, right? Against athletic big men that are more comfortable on the perimeter. I would almost like to see Nebraska feature Rink Mass as a low post playmaker a little bit more, where when you're in an athleticism disadvantage, you have to go back to those fundamentals. You have to go back to techniques and whatnot. And Rink Mass has that in his bag. We saw that as the game progressed, but Nebraska doesn't use a lot of low post playmaking from him or really any of their big men. But in terms of the interior as a whole, no, I think Rink Mass was fine. I mean, a super quiet double-double, 10 points, 11 rebounds. Not the best shooting numbers, missed both his threes. First one I didn't like. He looked like a guy trying to get his legs back underneath him. Berke Buitengel, not a huge deal in this game to me, but does end up with 4 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists. He looked a little bit more comfortable. Still a little bit of a chaos agent out there, but Buitengel ends up as a plus 26. And that's important to keep in mind because for the time being, those are Nebraska's 2 real big guys. With Ugnias Jurusevicius out nursing a back injury, he's going to be reevaluated again in about a week and a half. Leo Curtis did officially burn the red shirt as he gets into the game. He's a bit of a project for Nebraska. You see the outlines of it, but probably not a factor in Big Ten play. And that I'm gonna go out here and just say I called my shot. I talked about this with Jay on Old School a little bit about the big man rotation. They did start the 2 bigs like I thought they were going to because that's what they've gotten comfortable doing. And like I predicted, Berke Buitengel came out right about that first media timeout. And then by the time the U12 timeout had rolled around, he had subbed back in for Rink Mass. Nebraska could stagger their minutes a little bit. And that's due in large part to Nebraska's versatility. You think about the guys that were asked to play the 4 at times for Nebraska today. It was Braden Frager in a lot of matchups was playing the 4, which you can get away with against a team that didn't stand much taller than 6'8", really across the board. Cale Jacobson at times played the 4 for Nebraska. Kendall Blue might have in moments, Price Sanford here and there as well. Some of those lineups, some of those defenders are better than others, but Nebraska's front court, certainly thin right now, down one of the bigger additions they had in the transfer portal in the Central Michigan transfer, Jurusevicius. They're hoping to have him back. That's still up in the air, but I do think that even if Jurusevicius is out, it's not necessarily a huge problem for Nebraska. It just means that it's that much more important that 3-point shots end up falling and that Nebraska rebounds as a team. When Nebraska, rotated crisply and cleanly, even with just one traditional big man in the game, one guy bigger than 6'8" or 6'9" in the game, they were fine. It was when Nebraska was slow in its rotation and Nebraska stood and watched that it had more issues rebounding more so than, these guys are just taller than Nebraska, so they're going to get easy rebounds, if that makes sense.
I was going to ask you too, Austin. The point guard is that Jamarcus's position, or how did they run the point guard tonight, or did they use like Rink and like a point forward type, or how did they run the offense tonight?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. So I was a little surprised Nebraska didn't play through Rink Mass more in the first half. Again, some of that I think was finding a way to get him maybe settled down a little bit back into the flow of things. Nebraska had a number of guys run the point. It was primarily Jamarcus Lawrence. Cale Jacobson ran it at times. Sam Hoiberg got a few possessions here and there. And then with the bench, it was a lot of Kendall Blue. And that's going to, I think, continue to evolve for Nebraska, where in transition, where Nebraska was better tonight, especially in the second half, Nebraska has enough guys that you don't have to just find a point guard, get it, and go. really the only guys that I think wouldn't push on a break. I mean, Jared Garcia here and there could, but not long term. I'm trying to think. I mean, even Esijan can take a couple dribbles and go. Frager can push. Boyich and Joe will push from time to time as well. It's really when Nebraska gets into the half court offensively that the lack of a point guard is sometimes in sharp focus, but sometimes mitigated by the presence of Rink Mass. The first play of the second half went to Rink Mass. They got him going downhill with the right matchup. He draws a shooting foul. And so that's still going to be the way that Nebraska tends to play things. It's through Rink Mass in the half court, but Nebraska does have a number of options for guys to dribble the ball up. And so I won't say it's any one guy's job, but you see the difference that a good and a confident Jamarcus Lawrence can make. He made some really big plays for Nebraska, hit the open transition threes. He wasn't the one dribbling the ball up. There's another player that found Jamarcus Lawrence in transition a couple of times. He goes 5 of 8 from 3, also dishes out 6 assists. Jamarcus Lawrence is really good in his official return to action as a Cornhusker.
I want to ask you on a point that, at the end of last year, I remember us talking a little bit. How's the fast break looked? Even in that BYU exhibition game, because last year that was an area where our offense would go on, 4 or 5 minutes without scoring a field goal, and it felt like we always struggled on that fast break. BYU game, you could throw that exhibition match in there, but even in tonight's game, how's Nebraska looked in terms of transition?
It's fine. I think that we're always going to ask them to do a little bit more in transition than they consistently will do. There were a couple opportunities. I want to say it was either Esijan or Jacobson. I think it was Jacobson pushing, who then kind of turned around and shoveled it out to Esijan. I thought he had more of an open lane to drive and maybe kick weak side. So that's really what you want to do in transition, right? You want the ball in the middle to spray out, or you want the ball on one side and then you'll kind of cross it back across court to kind of meld the defense to what you want it to be, and then hit a cross-court pass for an open 3 or a second side drive. Nebraska didn't necessarily make running a focus. They were pretty good at it when they did. They created some open looks in transition, especially for those threes to start the second half. Fred Hoiberg talked about that a little bit. Lawrence hit a couple, Esijan hit one, and then it was Hoiberg actually off an offensive rebound that took the lid off the basket in the second half from long range. So I think there's always going to be more opportunities for Nebraska to push. But I really think more of Nebraska's transition opportunities are going to come if the guards are good defensively, right? I think Nebraska, given the front court that we talked about just a few minutes ago, needs to commit those bodies to the paint, or at least to checking out. And I don't think Nebraska is a team that's necessarily going to be best served by leaking out. But that's where, Sam Hoiberg playing passing lanes, Braden Frager being aggressive, Jamarcus Lawrence on ball, that is really where I think Nebraska is going to thrive in transition. Or the flip side of that, a lot of long rebounds, right? We know Nebraska is going to give up its fair share of threes of the defensive style they play. West Georgia ends the game just 4 of 24 from long range. That was a lot of long rebounds, contributing to some of the offensive rebounds allowed. Mm-hmm. But if Nebraska guards can get a forearm to their guy's chest, make sure he's not crashing the glass, grab the rebound and go, that's where I think Nebraska will end up getting more and more opportunities in transition.
All right. This is Chris Raff again. No, I was going to ask you, when it's all said and done, how deep does Fred Hoiberg go? Did he go 8 deep, or do you think they go 9 or 10, or where do you think they're set at, or what players do you think are getting at the most playing time this year when the season really gets started? I guess Oklahoma would probably be the first real threat, I would guess.
Yeah, probably. How deep does Nebraska go? That's going to be the however many $1 million question, because I think that you can tout depth as a strength and have it be legitimate, right? Because if you look at the guys that played tonight for Nebraska, right? You look at the starters, Hoiberg, Beachengel, Lawrence, Sanford, and Mast. Absolutely. Connor Esijan, not his best night, but they like that scoring punch off the bench. Braden Frager obviously stepped up, and Cale Jacobson. Okay, so there's 8 guys that you think you trust in some capacity. Well, that's before you get to the guy that I think is really underwhelmed so far through 3 appearances in Kendall Blue. That's a guy I think for Nebraska to be its best needs to come on and take someone's spot in the rotation, and that's before you get to Jared Garcia, who's going to probably need to play some minutes, especially early on for Nebraska. That's a rugged upperclassman who's been around the college basketball block before. So I think that Nebraska can pretty comfortably count on playing 10 guys through the non-conference. But I just go back to what I heard at Big Ten Media Days, right? And that's from Ben McCollum and from Matt Painter. I have two of the best point guards in the country in Bennett Sturts and in Drayton Smith. They were both asked, okay, well, where do you find these guys time to rest? Do you like your depth? You can get them more minutes. And both those coaches said, if guys need time to rest, it's going to be in practice. They're too important to what we do. You only get so many opportunities. It's only 40 minutes of game time. Those guys need to be on the court. So I think as important as it is for Nebraska to have depth, be able to weather it and throw different bodies at the problem, I'm almost waiting for a solid starting five to identify itself. And then maybe, you have 2 or 3 guys in the deep bench that play spot minutes in case of foul trouble, injury, or it's just the right matchup. But really, I think by the time conference play rolls around, so let's just say by the new year, by the time we get to January, I think it'd be beneficial for Nebraska to have that core group of probably 8, maybe 7 if you really want to make some tough cuts narrow down. And those are the guys that get the bulk of the minutes.
All right, final thing for you, Austin Orman, as I'm sure they're ready to kick the Duke fan out of the vault as you're sitting there. But final thing I got for you, just what is your synopsis, final things you want to say about this game versus the West Georgia Wolves?
Yeah, Nebraska found a way. I think that as far as first games go, this was certainly one of them. I think there's plenty for Nebraska to learn from. You see the strength of the team on display. You see what it is that Nebraska is going to need to work on consistently. But nothing, to the question before, nothing necessarily surprised me. Not to say I was 100% correct in everything I ever prognosticated about this team. I would have to be on the Aloe Fiber Super VIP line if I was that correct already. I'm just a regular VIP who's only sometimes correct. But no, the strengths that we think Nebraska could have showed themselves. The weaknesses that we think could manifest for Nebraska absolutely showed themselves as well. So really, I think from now on, it's, how does Nebraska amplify its strengths? How does it get in more advantageous situations? And even when other teams have an advantage with an athletic 5 or are really crashing the glass strongly, how is Nebraska able to mitigate that advantage from the opponent? I think more likely than not, it's going to be with the threat of the 3 ball. Didn't see perfect ball movement from Nebraska tonight. I think that's going to be what it holds for Nebraska to take that next steps in offense, just make sure that ball keeps moving. Nebraska doesn't have that one break you down guy necessarily. So if Nebraska is able to shoot it well from 3 and they're able to compete enough defensively and on the boards, they'll be fine. If Nebraska, decides to start punting on defense and no one's stepping up to play that role, it's going to be a long season. But nothing I saw tonight necessarily surprised me. Enough positive to build on, but you also see where it is Nebraska is going to need to work and improve as the non-conference rolls along.
Well said. We appreciate the updates. That is Austin Orman. We'll go ahead and let him go. Let him go ahead and run back to the family or whatever he's got going on tonight. You guys can go ahead, give him a follow though. Austin @_Orman, OER man, spelled that way. And again, he's on Old School as well, 3 to 6 Monday through Thursday. Well, Tuesday's a little bit different. You got Outside the Box and your weekly Disrupt with Mike Smith. But Austin Orman's the producer for all that, and he chimes in from time to time. But how about that, Raff? A little bit of basketball talk. You were joining us for the basketball postgame show, Impromptu, on Raff's Good Take on Sports.
Yeah, all I can say is I'm a basketball prognosticator now. I've impressed myself with the college game. Yeah, I like it. Big thanks to Austin.
I'm gonna start listening to the Raff's report. Whatever information you're getting is good because I knew Frager and I was like, okay, we'll see what he does. And I heard good things, but you hear good things about every recruit coming to Nebraska. They wouldn't recruit a kid and say, yeah, we recruited this guy, but we think he kind of stinks. That's why you're always going to hear positive things, but you called him out and I was like, interesting. And he's looked awesome. He looked really comfortable out there. And again, I've just seen some of the highlights on Twitter from him, but I'm excited to watch the full game tape because Austin Orman mentioned it. He had some mistakes, kind of young freshman player mistakes, but also a lot of really great moments. So good call on that one. And you maybe got to tap me into whatever information you got because that was a solid one right there. We'll go to break. We'll go back to Husker football on the other side. And this will be the last break we take to make up for it. Don't go anywhere. Raff's Take on Sports.
Nebraska farmers, harvest is here and every gallon counts. That's why Sapp Brothers Petroleum launched the Go Big Red Fuel Giveaway. When you contract your fuel with Sapp Brothers, enter to win $1,000 in fuel credits. As Husker Country knows, the only thing stronger than the roar at Memorial Stadium is the drive of a farmer putting food on the table. Fuel your farm with Sat Brothers Petroleum and enter to win $1,000 in fuel credits. Visit satbros.net today. Sat Brothers Petroleum, fueling the heartland. Go Big Red.
If the power is out, traffic lights might be too. If you come across a dark intersection, treat it like a four-way stop. See more tips at les.com/safety.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
This is Bill Mitchner, Executive Director of Lincoln Lighthouse. Did you know Lighthouse provides multiple programs for students such as one-on-one tutoring and mentoring, as well as pro-social skill exercises, while providing them a nourishing meal and a safe space during all months of the year, even during school breaks? Learn more or contribute to Lighthouse at lincolnlighthouse.org today.
This fall, Baumgars has everything you need to get your farm ready for the season. Stock up on livestock feed, deer corn, and pine shavings to keep your animals fed and your farm running smoothly. Need tools for your fall projects? Grab DeWalt power tools and grass seed to keep your fields in top shape before winter. From your barn to your backyard, Baumgars has you covered. Get ready for the season with everything you need to finish those fall fix-ups. Baumgars, field, farm, and fall fix-ups.
Are you looking to upgrade your equipment and keep cash in your pocket? Through October at Landmark Implement, get up to a 24-month waiver on select John Deere tractors and combines, or lock in a 2.9% fixed rate for 36 months, followed by a qualified standard rate for another 36 months. Whether you're thinking of this year's harvest or planning ahead, we've got a solution that works for your bottom line. Visit your local Landmark Implement for more details, or check us out at landmarkimp.com and experience the Landmark difference.
Schaefer's is celebrating its 79th anniversary with special rebates, financing, savings, and free delivery store-wide.
Update your home with innovative Samsung appliances and save up to an additional $900 with rebates. Samsung Innovation saves you energy and time with easy-to-connect appliance technology. Plus, during Schaefer's anniversary, get free delivery on your appliance purchase.
So hurry in during Schaefer's 79th anniversary event, going on now.
This is your year, where your team takes it all the way. Win way more than bragging rights at Warhorse Casino, where your love of the game could put $1 million in your pocket. The Pro Football Frenzy is free to play with prizes all season long. Weekly cash prizes up to $1,000 cash, season-long leaderboards, and a chance to win $1 million. Only at Warhorse Casino. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
Fall is here, and so are cooler temps, darker evenings, and slick roads. Is your vehicle ready for the change in seasons? At A1 Automotive, we've got you covered. From tire checks, brake inspections, batteries, and heater systems, we make sure your car is road ready for the Nebraska winters ahead. Don't wait until the first frost. Schedule your fall car care checkup today and drive with confidence all season long. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
Are you looking to upgrade or improve the garage door on your home? This is Cameron Hall of Doors Plus. At Doors Plus, we guarantee to offer a wide selection of options from 5 leading garage door manufacturers as we deliver a free estimate, exact measurements, and rapid installation with a 3 to 5 week time frame. When you choose Doors Plus for your residential garage door needs, you'll work with our experienced technicians and be ensured that your new door seamlessly complements your home. Give us a call at 402-590-5800 or visit us online at DoorsPlusLLC.com. Doors Plus, garage doors, and more.
Back to Raff's Good Take on Sports on 93.7 The Ticket. With all the good takes you need, here is your host, Chris Raff.
Welcome back in. Raff's Good Take on Sports. Shout out to Austin Orman for the impromptu basketball postgame show as Nebraska basketball takes down West Georgia Wolves. They win that one in dominant fashion, 86-53. Maybe expected, but still good to see it nonetheless. Chris, Raff, let's get back to it. Let's talk some football here. And I know you want to talk about the miracle that was my Chicago Bears over the weekend. No, I'm just kidding. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. We can save the NFL for another day.
Yeah, congratulations. That was a heck of a game. Good Lord.
I know I've lost some ages. I don't know how many, but at least like 2 years off the lifespan. I mean, that was my heart rate it was either I ran a marathon or I was watching that game. It was the only thing that was getting my heart rate that high. It was insane. But shout out the Bears. They got it done. And then shout out
you expect, or you always want your team to. Oh, am I there? Sorry.
Yeah, you froze for a little bit.
Yep. You always want your team to be undefeated, but sitting at 5-3 right now, is that kind of where you expected the Bears to be at right now, or did you expect better than that, or are you impressed with the 5-3 mark right now?
I'm impressed. That's awesome. Anything above 500 for me with this year, just kind of, as much as you like the hype and the players around it, you still got to get the system in place. And that bye week, when they figured out the run game, all of a sudden this team's looked different. So it took a little bit of time, but they got that run game figured out. Now it's a strength that they can lean on. Even when they had Monungai in there, one of Rutgers' finest, who gave us problems on that first drive last year when we played him. Even he was able to, in place of DeAndre Swift, still have a really awesome day on the ground. So the run game's legit, and 5-3 feels pretty damn good.
Who they got this upcoming week?
That's a good question. Let's take a peek on my Chicago Bears. I think they got a tough one coming up here, if I remember correctly. If I can just get to the NFL season, that'd make things. Okay, my Chicago Bears next week. Oh, they actually get the G-Men, Giants. So not as tough as the challenge as I thought.
So you got an opportunity there with the injuries. Yeah, 6-3 is definitely in sight. Broncos play on Thursday this week against the Las Vegas Football Raiders. The Raiders.
How you feeling about the Broncos? This weekend wasn't necessarily one of your better showings.
I look at it now like I do college football. If you win by a point or if you win by 30 points, a win is a win because you're just trying to get into the playoffs for a chance to, to have a chip at the table. And I think that's my thing. Like I knew Denver was going to be sluggish this weekend against the Texans. It usually always happens that way, in the history of the Broncos, if they have a super impressive game. There's been, some years where it's been different, but for the most part, when they play a really impressive game, they're a little sluggish the next week. And I knew I thought the loss of Patrick Surtain would hurt the defense a little bit more, but I think a lot of it too was I hated seeing it happen with CJ Stroud going down. And I think that definitely made it a little bit easier on Denver. But then again, Houston's quarterback was Davis Mills. He played pretty good. I was kind of impressed the way he handled himself, coming off the bench, but he'd had starting, with the Texans, in 2022, I believe he started for them. So he played really well against Denver, but I like, I like Denver's defense. And when they do get Surtain back, I mean, that's going to spell trouble, I think, for a lot of teams. The offense, it's still, they kind of get stuck in the mud, but it's very reminiscent of like the early years of John Elway. Like there would be games that you wouldn't see much for the first 3 quarters of the game. It'd just be a lot of it, some of it was play calling, some of it was they just didn't have it. And then all of a sudden that fourth quarter rolls around and there's fire in their eyes. And I love seeing that, going to the fourth quarter. If it's, I guess now if it's within 3 touchdowns going into the fourth quarter, not that you want that all the time, but no, if you're within striking distance going into the fourth quarter, I like my chances with Bo Nix. I mean, he has that, that mentality that it's never over till it's over. And he just loves seeing that out of a quarterback. So they had it. The offense definitely wasn't what they wanted it to be, but when they needed it, it was there. So I'll take it.
Yeah, I like Bo Nix. I'm a Bo Nix fan. I think he's legit. And I'm not even trying to pick on the Packers, but since we're on the NFL, where do you have the Jordan Love? Because that was a rough game for him versus the Panthers.
Well, remember, I picked I think I put the curse on the Packers because remember last week I said they were the best team in the NFC, and I pretty much anointed Jordan Love as the second coming of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, or the third coming of, and then all of a sudden that happened, and I'm just scratching my head. I'm like, was it me that cursed them, or what happened there? Because that wasn't the same Green Bay Packer team that I watched the prior week. I was
They have a loss
surprised.
to the Browns and the Panthers this year.
Yeah, they're
weird year.
Like the Nebraska weather, you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, no, to be fair, like I've been on that roller coaster with Jordan Love. I at one point in time, I'm like, man, this guy is going to be another 15 years or whenever he decides to be done, of just constantly spoiling any of the Bears' hopes. And then he, signs that contract and backs it up, and you're like, yep, all right, it's legit. And then he falls back into the inconsistency that he had before the contract. So it's like, he is so up and down. And when he's on, he looks like the guy.
Yep.
And then he has that game versus the Panthers where, he should have definitely been an interception, easiest interception. I don't know who that was on the Panthers that dropped it, but just a bizarre kind of career arc for him, to where you definitely nowhere near bailing on him, but he has these games every now and then where you're just like, I don't know what's going on. And is it LaFleur or is it Love?
Oh man, that's hard to say on that. You'd have to say, man, you have to go the players on the field. I'd have to say it's Love, inconsistencies out of Love. But man, I'll tell you what, look at Carolina last year. They were about ready to call it quits on Bryce Young, and now look at him. He's not putting up, the greatest stats of all time, but he's commanding that leadership of that team, and seeing them sitting, I think they're 5-3 off, 5-4, 5-3 also, I believe. So
yeah, Panthers are sitting all right. The Panthers are
5-3,
5-4,
5-4.
Yeah.
But yeah, just seeing how close they were to, getting rid of Bryce Young or trying to send him elsewhere. And now it looks like he's taken over as the leader of that team. So that's cool to see. I always thought he'd be successful in the NFL. It's been a little struggle to begin with, but I think the future's still bright for him.
Yeah, he's just one of those guys that tough situation to be put into, and then you got to be the hero of a place that's, it'd be like you get invited to a place and everyone throws you a parade and says you're the hero, and then you're like, wow, this is incredible. I'm that guy, and then you don't realize there was 20 other quote unquote heroes that showed up that they dismissed, that they gave up on. So it's always a tough place to be. Like you walk in those places, you're loved, but they're very quick to kind of move on because there isn't a lot of time for those GMs and those coaches because it is that bad. So I'm always rooting for his career the same way I'm kind of rooting for Justin Fields and the New York Jets at times. But it's been interesting. Also, shout out to Adrian Martinez. He got in. It was just, he got a snap. It was just a knee, but still, nonetheless, I kind of like that relationship that they got over there. Quarterback room seems to like each other. Before we get out of here, Chris Raff, we do got a little bit of time. What is your good take on officially November? Man, it is flying by.
November 3rd. All right, November 3rd, 13 years ago today. Today's Raff's good take goes out to my sister and my brother-in-law, John and Susie Springrose. They are celebrating their 13-year anniversary today. Two kiddos, Calla, John Andrew, living down in South Houston. Just wanted to wish them a very happy anniversary. You guys are Raff's good take.
Love it. Before we get, I'll just double down on everyone who helped chip in for the food drives that were happening, and I'm sure some still are. But just what we got here, excuse me, at 93.7 The Ticket, we had some people come write out some personal checks to help out in a big way, and other people helping out with just what they could. All of it incredibly appreciated. So good on you if you did that, and keep helping out if you have the possibility to do so. Chris Raff, I appreciate it as always here on a Monday night. Don't go anywhere. Late Night in Lincoln coming up next right here, 93.7 The Ticket.